moving on to this story here about Elon Musk. Now, these are two different stories, but it's connected. We're going to start off with the NPR story, and then we'll make our way to the BBC interview because it shows some of the complexities that are happening at Twitter and what Elon Musk has decided to take on. And some organizations and companies are pushing back on Elon Musk. Now, remember when I told you a while back that Twitter decided to add these labels under certain accounts that had either working for RT or Sputnik, and they put this affiliation under their name that said Russian affiliated media or Iranian affiliated media, Chinese affiliated media, etc. But they only did it for certain countries. Well, somehow, some way, Elon Musk has decided that maybe it would be fair to put those labels under other forms of media, particularly mainstream media here in America. And one of those companies, NPR, got a new label that they were not happy about. Take a look at this. This is interesting. So if you go to Twitter right now and you look at NPR's Twitter page, it says government funded media. That was not there before, folks. That is new. That is new. And apparently, NPR is not happy about this. Now, first and foremost, is it true? Yes. NPR stands for National Public Radio. Same thing with PBS, Public Broadcasting Station. They are also government funded. They're not happy either. That's another thing. But they decided to issue a statement, and this is what they said. NPR produces consequential, independent journalism every day in service to the public. Here's where you can find and read our work. And they mentioned to subscribe to their first newsletter. They tell people to download the app, listen to their local NPR member stations, enable mobile push alerts for the latest new updates, and follow NPR on social media. Now, they posted this in response to that government funded label. Notice they use the word independent journalism. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to push back on the label given to them by Elon Musk and say, hey, we're independent. Independent is an interesting word to use nowadays. There are people who claim to be independent that are not. Just is what it is. But this is them basically trying to tell the public, hey, wait a minute. No, this isn't our thing. And they go on to say here, they added those as well. They went on to say, we also have topical newsletters that cover, politics, breaking points, education, health, and more. And then they tell people to sign up. You can find our social media here. This went on and on. Okay. All right. So that being said, because of this label, NPR has officially decided to leave Twitter. Now, if you'll notice, the account is still present, but I guess they will not be participating on Twitter anymore. I think they were really trying to give a push for Elon Musk to remove that label, but he's not going to. This individual here, I found this interesting. The Persistence says, just so we're clear, NPR is leaving Twitter because the company truthfully labeled it as government funded media. It's a news organization, is afraid of the truth. How could it ever be trusted as a credible source? And this is a question that other people have been asking as well. Because you see, I want to point something out. PBS also has this label now too. I want to point something out here. These outlets like NPR and PBS, they didn't seem to have a problem when other accounts received labels like Russian affiliated media or Iran affiliated media. They didn't have a problem with that. They only have a problem now because they're the ones that are affected. And what is wrong with that label? If you are funded by the US government, why is that something that you would want to hide? Why is that something you wouldn't want your viewers to see? Because then they would know that you too, even though you claim to be independent, you support the State Department talking points. So Elon Musk called their bluff. This is funny. Elon said, NPR literally said federal funding is essential to public radio on their own website, now taken down. What hypocrites? And I'll show you this piece here. So he Googled it. NPR federal funding essential. Look at this. NPR, public radio finances. Federal funding is essential to public radio service to the American public, and its continuation is critical for both stations and program. Of course, Twitter added a context thing here. At the time of this tweet, NPR's webpage dedicated to their finances still claims that federal funding is essential to public radio service to the American public, and its continuation is critical for both stations and program producers, including NPR. So, NPR said that they are independent, right? But lo and behold, it actually said on their website that they are government funded. So this is not a false label. This is true. And for them to even put the statement out, it just shows you what this is really all about. I believe NPR was embarrassed by this statement because here's the reality. If the government is funding your news outlet, you think the government's going to let you come onto the radio and make statements like, yeah, but you know, Russia was wrong to invade, but they were provoked. Do you think they would allow that to happen and continue funding that network? No. So you have to be careful about this whole independent statement that some people have. But Elon was not having it. He went on to say here, Jesus, he said, yes, they won't mind losing federal funding in that case. Because if they're claiming that they're largely independent and they're not really dependent on the federal funding, he has a point there with that particular statement as well. So now NPR and PBS, now they know just how everybody else felt when they received those labels as well. Now, here's what I would like to see. I would like to see Twitter label mainstream media outlets corporate funded. Like CNN and MSNBC and Fox News. I'd love to see them have a label underneath their network, their account on Twitter that says corporate funded. Because they are. Let's just be real. But it goes on. Because Elon also had an interesting interview with the BBC. Now, I told you guys before, I was kind of upset that he was not doing any of these interviews, especially when it came to the Twitter files. I thought it was kind of messed up. I felt like he threw Matt Taibbi and them under the bus. But he did have an interview recently with the BBC, not so much about the Twitter files, but Twitter in particular. There's a couple of things that are said here. I have two clips. This is the first one where he talks about how painful the Twitter takeover actually was. Listen to this.
It is one of his first interviews since he bought Twitter for $44 billion. He defended his decision to lay off a massive number of staff, saying that Twitter only had 4 months to live unless drastic measures were taken.
In rough numbers, revenue dropped from $4.5 billion to $3 billion, and expenses went from $4.5 billion to $6 billion, creating a $3 billion negative cash flow situation, and Twitter having $1 billion in the bank. That's 4 months to live.
So it sounds like, and I watched this interview a couple of times, it sounds like to me, Twitter was having some serious financial troubles. Maybe Twitter grew too fast. This happens sometimes with some of these platforms. I think maybe they grew too fast. I don't think they were bringing in enough ad revenue. I'm still mad that we have to pay this money. Okay. I'm still mad we have to pay for like this Twitter Blue thing. I'm going to have to go ahead and do it because they really are suppressing things. And not only that, my For You page is going to disappear if I don't subscribe to Twitter Blue by the 15th of this month. And it's happening to everyone. Now, if you go into Twitter and you click on like the legacy accounts, if you click onto their blue check mark, now it doesn't say this account is verified as legacy. Now it says this account is verified because it is either subscribed to Twitter Blue or was a legacy account. So what he's trying to do is make it seem like, I guess there isn't that separation between like people who are celebrities or public figures and the average Twitter user. But still, $11 a month, like not everybody can do that. But I'm going to lose my For You page if I don't do it. I don't know, guys. Check out Substack Notes. It's new. I went on there once and I said something. I said hello or something like that. But check out Substack Notes as well. But I have a feeling that Elon is going to try to make Twitter a bigger platform than what it is, in the sense that I don't think Twitter is just going to be like this community square where people tweet. I wonder if Elon is going to try to make it so that Twitter is a one-stop shop for everything. Meaning how you have YouTube for like videos, like Twitter would be like, you have the tweet feed, but you also can do live streams there. You can do, what is he add? I think he's adding like, articles. You can do Twitter articles there. I think that's what the Twitter files was trying to signal to people as well. Like, we're going to start reporting, like having articles that are done through Twitter. I think he's going to try to make it a lot bigger than what it is now. And I honestly don't think, I don't know. I don't think it's going to go too well, but let's go on.
So unless drastic action was taken immediately, this company is going to die and be owned by the banks.
Let's talk about that drastic action, because almost immediately you sacked a lot of Twitter workers. And I spoke to them. It was very easy to speak to them when it happened. And the way they said, pretty much everyone said, is that it felt quite haphazard.
It was.
And it felt a little bit uncaring. I
wouldn't say uncaring. The issue is like the company's either going to go bankrupt, or if we do not cut costs immediately. This is not a caring, uncaring situation. It's like if the whole ship sinks, then nobody's got a job.
Right.
Yeah.
But a lot of people just lost their jobs like that.
Yep.
They weren't. They didn't even know they'd lost their jobs often. They just were just frozen out of their accounts.
What would you do?
Well, you might want to give someone some notice. I mean, you might. By the way, I'm not running Twitter, but, this is the criticism, and this is what staff members say. A little bit of notice,
No, I understand. If you have 4 months to live, 120 days. In 120 days, you're dead. So what do you want to do?
How much are you worth?
He still could have given them like a 2-week notice or something. I mean, he walked in like that day and said, okay, you guys are fired. Like,
I don't know.
But I mean, we're talking about around the $200 billion mark. I mean, it's not quite, you're framing it in a way that it had a few months to live. You're quite a rich man.
I sold a lot of Tesla stock to close this deal. I did not want to sell the Tesla stock.
Then why did you do it? Because see, that's the other piece for me that I found to be a little bit troubling. The fact that he didn't want to sell the stock. So then why did you do it?
Will return. Let's have a listen to this.
In terms of advertising, obviously Twitter's not a private company anymore, so we don't really know how it's all going. Have all the advertisers come back?
Not all, but most.
And
you can see it for yourself on Twitter, even in the For You feed.
Right.
I mean, in the following
feed.
Don't use For You because it sucks.
Right.
Filled with hate speech, I'm told.
That's not what I said.
Okay, fine. Well, why don't you use For You? What's wrong with it?
How is it going? Is Twitter in profit now?
No, Twitter is rough. I'd say we're roughly break even at this point.
So if Twitter is roughly breaking even at this point, and they've already started the Twitter Blue subscriptions, what the hell was Jack, who was the previous CEO of Twitter, what was he doing the past 3 years with this company? Because he just told you they're roughly breaking even. He laid off all those people. They have the Twitter Blue subscriptions, which I know a lot of people have signed up for, and they're just now roughly breaking even. It's something to think about. I don't know what Jack was doing.
And I think you've said before, you see a world where you could be in profit. Is there a timeline on that, do you think?
I mean, depending on how things go, if current trends continue, I think we could be profitable, or, I mean, I say, to be more precise, we could be cash flow positive this quarter if things keep going well.
This quarter, as soon as that?
Possibly, yeah.
Wow. And do you have a message for the advertiser? I mean, can you say which advertisers haven't come back?
I think almost all of them have either come back or said they're going to come back. There are very few exceptions.
Can you say any of the exceptions?
This piece right here, I think, was very telling for me. Robert said Twitter is a money laundering operation. It was very telling for me because it seemed like he was very hesitant to mention which advertisers were not willing to come back to Twitter. And you have to wonder why that is.
I actually don't know of anyone who said definitively they're not coming back. They're all sort of trending towards coming back.
But there are some that just haven't.
Jumping in, the water's warm, it's great.
That's your message to the advertisers who haven't come back.
Yeah, I mean, look, if Disney feels comfortable advertising, children's movies, and Apple feels comfortable advertising iPhones, those are good indicators that Twitter is a good place to advertise.
I want to talk about if you have any regrets, and I think you were booed at a Dave Chappelle concert. I think your own lawyer said a little. Well, some say a little, some say a bit more. I think your own lawyer said you couldn't get a fair trial in San Francisco because there are lots of people that don't necessarily like you here.
Yeah, but I have to say I was wrong. He was wrong, I guess, because I was acquitted by the San Francisco jury unanimously. So. Yeah.
But I guess.
But look,
do you have any regrets buying Twitter?
I think it was something that needed to be done.
I mean, you said earlier
quite
that
difficult. I'd say that the pain level of Twitter has been extremely high. This hasn't been some sort of party, so it's been really quite a stressful situation. For the last several months. Not an easy one.
But notice he wouldn't answer the question about whether or not he has regrets purchasing it. He goes on to talk about the stress and the pain level, but he won't answer that particular question. But what I got from this interview, it seems like to me, he did not want to do this. And so you have to ask yourself, why did he do it?
But apart from the pain, I mean, so it's been quite painful, but I think at the end of the day, it should have been done. I think, were there many mistakes made along the way? Of course, but all's well that ends well, and so I feel like we're headed to a good place. We're roughly break even. I think we're trending towards being cash flow positive very soon, like literally in a matter of months. The advertisers are returning. I think the quality of recommended tweets has improved significantly, and we've taken a lot of feedback from people that have looked at the open source recommendation algorithm, and we've made a lot of improvements even since that was made open source, and we're going to keep doing that. So overall, I think the trend is very good. So.
Well, let's unpack this further with our business reporter, João da Silva, who joins us from our bureau.
So I wanted to show you that piece there. And then there's another clip that I wanted to show you as well, where the topic of hate speech possibly increasing on Twitter did come up. So you have to see his response in reference to this. Here we go.
Content you don't like or hateful? What do you mean to describe a hateful thing?
Yeah, I mean, just content that will solicit a reaction, something that may include something that is slightly racist or slightly sexist, those kinds of things.
So you think if something is slightly sexist, it should be banned?
No,
is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying anything. I'm
just curious. I'm trying to understand what you mean by hateful content. And I'm asking for specific examples. And you just said that if something is slightly sexist, that's hateful content. Does that mean that it should be banned?
Well, you've asked me whether my feed, whether it's got less or more. I'd say it's got slightly more.
That's what I'm.
Let's pause here for a second. So some people have been complaining that ever since Elon Musk took over Twitter, that they are seeing more hateful tweets. I honestly am not. I'll be honest with you. Even when I refresh like my Twitter feed, I'm seeing the same freaking tweets over and over for most of the day, which is also really annoying. But again, that's what that Twitter Blue subscription thing they want you to do as well, so that you'll be able to see more tweets. That's a part of that as well. So they're starting to phase out that For You page for people who don't have that Twitter Blue subscription. But he's going to proceed here, and he's going to ask him to give him an example of the hateful tweets that he has seen. This part, I think, is rather interesting.
Whether it's got less or more, I'd say it's got slightly more.
That's why I'm asking for examples. Can you name one example?
I honestly don't use. Honestly, I
you
don't.
Can't name a single example.
I'll tell you why. Because I don't actually use that For You feed anymore. Because I just don't particularly like it.
But you said.
So this is where he got him. This is where he got him right here. I think Elon is annoying, by the way, but I think he really got him here. Anytime you are being interviewed, or actually he's the interviewer, and you're saying something that may be negative, so to speak, right? If you have a criticism of a particular item or a particular issue, it is very important that you have examples that you can point to. This is where the BBC interviewer messed up. He said, well, there's been, hateful content. Oh, you've seen it? Yeah, I've seen it on my end as well. Oh, really? What type have you seen? Well, I haven't really seen it because I don't look at the For You page anymore. No. If you don't have concrete examples to give people, then it seems like you're just acting in bad faith. And this is something that I would actually encourage every one of you watching to do when you do offer criticisms for certain things, certain issues, especially to that person that you're trying to criticize or critique. I think it's important that you have examples. Like if you say something like, you guys are negative. Oh, really? How so? Well, you guys say negative things. What sort of negative things do we say? Oh, well, I don't know. You have a difficult time proving your point when you do that. So I don't know what's going on with the BBC gentleman here, but he was not prepared for this question, I don't think.
Because I don't actually use that For You feed anymore because I just don't particularly like it.
But you said
actually, a lot of people are quite similar. I only look at
hang on a second.
my
You said you've seen more hateful content, but you can't name a single example, not even one.
I'm not sure I've used that feed for the last 3 or 4 weeks. And
then how did you see the hateful content?
Because I've been using Twitter since you've taken it over for the last 6 months.
Okay, so then you must have at some point seen the For You hateful content. I'm asking for one example.
Right.
And you can't give a single one.
And I'm saying
I say, sir, that you don't know what you're talking about.
Really?
Oh my God. Because now it looks like the reporter is just repeating State Department talking points. He doesn't actually have any concrete examples. He could name one hateful tweet that he saw. He's just regurgitating the talking points that he's heard from the State Department. The State Department has issues with Twitter as well ever since Elon Musk has taken over. So this is yes, Pete. Who's interviewing who? That is a good question. What is happening here? As the interviewer, you cannot let the interviewee take over the interview. So now Elon Musk is interviewing him when he is supposed to be interviewing Elon Musk. He has lost control of the interview.
Yes, because you can't give me a single example of hateful content, not even one tweet. And yet you claimed that the hateful content was high.
Well,
that's false.
No, what I claimed,
you just lied.
What I claimed was there are many organizations that say that that kind of information is on the rise. Now, whether it has on my feed or not, I mean, right, and literally you can look at something like the Strategic Dialogue Institute in the UK.
Now he's saying that that information is coming from other organizations, but earlier he said that he had saw it himself. Now, since he can't have an example, now he's going to say, oh, it's actually other organizations that are saying this, but he has no example on his own.
They will say that. So
look, people will say all sorts of nonsense. I'm literally asking for a single example, and you can't name one.
Right, and as I already said, I don't use that feed. But
then how would you know that?
I don't think this is getting anywhere.
You literally said you experienced more hateful content, and then couldn't name a single example.
Right, and as I said,
that's absurd.
I haven't actually looked at that feed.
Then how would you know there's hateful content?
Because I'm saying that's what I saw a few weeks ago. I can't give you an exact example. Let's move on. We only have a certain amount of time.
Wow.
This is journalism busted. He got busted. Journalism 101. Have examples when you make accusations and when you have critiques. That went bad. But obviously, there are issues at Twitter. Obviously, we've known this has been going on for quite some time. Matt Taibbi has expressed his frustration. If you're signed up to his Substack, he did issue a more recent statement. I think I received the email yesterday about how all this transpired in reference to the Twitter files, the process, and what happened while he was on vacation, in reference to his communication with Elon Musk. If you are signed up for his Substack, please go read that. It is very detailed. I'm not going to say all that on here, but it is very detailed. So definitely check that out. So I don't know. Was Elon taking over Twitter a good thing or a bad thing? What do you guys think? Yes or no? Let me know in the chat. I'll take that comment on Rockfin, Eric. Who do you love? Thank you for the tip, JVB. Says Sabby 2024. That is sweet. I am not interested in being a politician. Thank you for the tip, Roger. It is impossible to get the people to focus on Julian war abroad, coups we conduct in other countries when their basic everyday needs are not being taken care of. I say we got to push the states with no CBI for voters to ratify their own amendments to their state constitution to become CBI states. This way we can take care of our domestic issues ourselves, leaving us leeway to focus on foreign policy. Only way around this is an amendment to all 50 state constitutions and the U.S. Constitution that give investigative reporting a right to government financing 100% of their budget, while commentary be funded by subs. This way, investigative reporters can get all up in that government corporate Wall Street ass without fear of retribution by the government, although they'd still try, but will be protected in the courts by the Constitution. Interesting. Thank you so much for that, Roger. I'm going to go to some of these comments here. Thank you for the super chat, Anthony. Call into local NPR and argue with Congress members. That's an idea. Anon says NPR are Russiagate, anti-China, pro-war, pro-capitalist propaganda for the far left to think they are getting good media. I hear you on that. Thank you, veteran of dissent. Elon is government funded. So isn't Twitter the same as NPR? Insert Spider-Man pointing at Spider-Man meme. You guys seen that meme? It's like Spider-Man here, and they're pointing at each other. Interesting. And Bill says, this is what Elon said he wanted to do with Twitter. Make it a catch-all app like WeChat in Asia. I think that is probably what he is going to do.